Welcome to a special episode of the Body Mind Soul miniseries in English. Today I'm talking about a deeply normalized, yet often destructive, behavior, gossip. Constantly talking about other people's lives, spreading rumors, criticizing, indirectly humiliating, enjoying scandal, or emotionally feeding off the flaws of others isn't always just chatting. In many cases, it can transform into a true psychological and emotional dependency. Some people feel anxious if they don't have information about others. They need to comment, judge, exaggerate, or constantly participate in other people's conflicts. Silence makes them uncomfortable. Introspection weighs heavily on them. And so, their psychic energy is obsessively directed outward. From Pharaoh's perspective, repetitive gossip can be understood as a form of existential avoidance. The person talks about everyone else to avoid confronting themselves. Pharaoh analysis. Shadow and projection. For Carl Jung, many criticisms of others are unconscious projections of one's own shadow. What a person rejects within themselves often appears exaggeratedly in their view of others. Gossip allows for the release of internal tensions without assuming personal responsibility. People talk about others to avoid confronting emptiness, insecurities, jealousy, frustrations, or feelings of inferiority. The poisonous tongue often expresses a psyche full of resentment, comparison, or unprocessed pain, and a profound lack of self-reflection. And the less integrated the shadow is, the greater the need to symbolically degrade others in order to feel superior or socially accepted. Wilber. Level of consciousness and culture. From Ken Wilber's holistic perspective, gossip also reflects levels of consciousness. In less developed states, identity depends heavily on belonging to the group, competing socially, or maintaining emotional hierarchies. Gossip generates superficial group cohesion. Us talking about them. That's why gossip often functions as an immediate psychological reward. Emotional stimulation, a sense of power, group validation, or entertainment. Social media has greatly amplified this phenomenon. Today, millions of people consume other people's conflicts as a daily form of emotional dopamine. Toxic work environments are another example of a low level of awareness with psychological violence toward others. Wilber would point out that human growth involves moving from automatic reaction to reflective consciousness. Hamer. Conflict and emotional release. According to Reich-Geerd Hamer's approach, some repetitive behaviors can act as compensatory mechanisms against internal tension, insecurity, or fear. The person releases anxiety by compulsively talking about others because they cannot internally process their own conflict. From Pharaoh's perspective, this is not interpreted as absolute evil, but rather as an immature and harmful form of emotional regulation. However, understanding does not mean justifying. The psychological, familial, and social damage that gossip can cause is enormous. Traditional Chinese medicine. From TCM's perspective, excessive talking, verbal agitation, and a compulsive need to intervene in other people's affairs can be related to heart disharmonies and Shin disturbances. When the mind loses serenity, dispersion, emotional agitation, and difficulty with inner silence appear. There may also be a liver imbalance associated with irritability, resentment, or accumulated emotional tension. Words then cease to build harmony and begin to spread emotional poison. Taoist philosophy. Taoism teaches that those who are preoccupied with the lives of others lose touch with their own path. The Taoist sage cultivates silence, observation, and simplicity. They don't need to destroy reputations to maintain their identity. Impulsive speech disrupts inner and collective harmony. That's why the Tao reminds us that every word has energetic weight. Speaking less and observing more is also a form of awareness. Why can it turn into dependency? Because gossip can generate immediate emotional release, a sense of group belonging, false superiority, constant stimulation, evasion of inner emptiness, psychological entertainment, social validation. Over time, some people no longer know how to relate to others without speaking negatively about them. Gossip is unethical, inhumane, and generates suffering and illness. Silence confronts them with themselves. Silence confronts us with our shadow, and the shadow hurts. Becoming aware of the shadow is an act of courage. Ferrotherapy. Ferrotherapy aims to help individuals recognize projection patterns, develop introspection, strengthen genuine self-esteem, learn emotional regulation, cultivate conscious silence, improve ethical communication, decrease the need for external validation, build healthier relationships, and create healthy social environments. Because a person at peace with themselves rarely needs to tear others down to feel valuable. Ferro-learning. The tongue can reveal the state of the soul. Those who constantly talk about others are often avoiding listening to their own inner world. Maturing also involves learning to transform words into awareness, not poison. Pharaoh phrase. People who are most empty inside often fill themselves by talking about others. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video. Leave a comment if you'd like. Tell me where you're watching from, if you're a healthcare professional, and if you'd like to be a Pharaoh coach. Share this video to raise awareness. Study with ESSI, the Pharaoh Integral Method. Learn science with awareness because in healthcare, knowledge isn't neutral, it's vital.